Okay, we are live. Check, check. And welcome back, everybody. This is the First Inning Radio Show live on television radio and television media. I am the BX Bomber 2011 along with Roger, the big Yankee fan. Say hello, Roger.
Hello, BX Bomber. How are you doing? Everything is going pretty good. And I figured that we would take a break from baseball on this particular podcast.
Cool.
And we would discuss climate change. And I feel it is a very pressing and important issue involving humanity. And since you gave me this platform, I thought that we would take a break from baseball for this half hour and do a report on climate change.
Yeah, man. See, a lot of people don't really understand climate change. Climate change, people just think it's just weather, everyday weather that goes on.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll try to break it down. This radio show is for the simple person, and we're gonna break it down in simple terms for you to really understand what the media and TV and I guess newspapers and whoever talks about climate change, so you can understand and say the right things about climate change and not the wrong things. So you don't want to look like an idiot, and we're gonna make you look like a smart person, right, Roger?
Yes, hopefully. And what I will start with now is that climate change is simply the difference in Earth's climate over time. And there have been many variations in the Earth's climate over time. And they have happened many times in the past for natural reasons, such as eruptions of volcanoes and oscillations in the Earth's orbit. And there have been many different periods where the Earth's climate has changed as we have gone through different geological periods. But the latest one that we are facing now is man-made, humankind made, and there are many external forces that are causing it, and a large amount of it is called the greenhouse effect, and the greenhouse effect is greenhouse gases, which are largely CO2 and methane are greenhouse gases. And before the industrial age, the Earth's atmosphere had about 280 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere.
Wow.
But it has now risen to over 410 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere, which means that we are at the highest level in human history of CO2 in the atmosphere at this point.
Man. Growing up as a kid, when they used to teach climate change and I guess global warming at what they knew at the time, which is, the knowledge is totally different on it now. But like at the time, it was like to save the world, we had to stop using spray cans, at one point. And it was like, okay, we did that. And then come to find out, cars create pollution in the air, and smokestacks create pollution in the air, and fires and all kind of things create pollution, especially them damn New York City MTA buses. No, that is number one contributor of all this.
Exactly.
Oh my God, man! What you
were referring to was aerosols, and we still have aerosols in the atmosphere, but aerosols have come down quite a bit, and what that was causing was the hole in the ozone over the poles.
Right,
and
the ozone layer.
That is
right.
repairing. And very much what is happening is we are releasing largely man-made massive amounts of CO2 in the atmosphere, greenhouse gas. And that is being done, as you said, from our energy grid, from producing electricity and from producing energy for automobiles and cars and buses and for our energy grid.
Right.
And we are using fossil fuels to do this. Fossil fuels are the culprit. And we can see a possible increase in the rate of the Earth's annual temperature anywhere from 3.1 to 8.6 degrees Fahrenheit by the turn of the century due to greenhouse gases. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
So let me ask you a question. Fossil fuels, meaning gasoline, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so pumping that out of the earth, does that create climate change?
Well, yes. What happens with refineries is they will burn off, and what we are also doing now is a thing called fracking, which I'll get into at another. Well, I'll get into it briefly. Is we are actually pumping water into the Earth's crust to get natural gas, which runs cleaner, but it is producing methane, and methane is the other type of greenhouse gas that is even much stronger than CO2, and is much stronger and has a shorter half-life, but it is even more powerful greenhouse gas than CO2. And methane can also be released from refineries as well.
Wow, I remember because I used to work in the boating industry, and I was a first mate on boats. And I remember guys at the time, this is like 5 years ago, at the time they were getting their captain's licenses, and there was a big boom in the Gulf of Mexico, and a lot of people were going down there to get jobs. And if you had a higher quality captain's license, you were making like up to $250 an hour on those boats transporting people to these oil rigs.
Exactly.
There was a big boom in that, and about 5 years ago, maybe more, but or maybe, and still now, I have no idea. But at that time, there was a big boom, and they were looking for a lot of people to work.
Oh yes, and right now with the current administration that we have, they are strongly reinforcing fossil fuels. But what needs to be done is a massive move towards renewable energies has to be done, and post haste at this point. We have to move to wind, solar, and hydro, and we have to move to renewable energies and get off of fossil fuels, because fossil fuels are releasing a massive amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, which is also causing climate tipping points as well.
Right.
And the tipping points happen when the Arctic sea ice is not renewing itself, it is at the thinnest that it has been in a long time. We are losing ice in the Arctic, which then allows more water, and the sun's radiant energy is absorbed into the water. The Earth's oceans are absorbing 90% of the energy that the Earth and that we are creating. And because the ice is not reflecting the energy back out to the atmosphere, it is causing even more warm-up acceleration to happen. And we are losing glaciers, and we are losing massive amounts of glaciers, and we are losing ice in the Arctic and also in Antarctica as well.
Wow. So since we're losing ice, we're gaining higher level in ocean water?
Yes, what will happen, some of the effects of climate change will be large rises in sea level. Sea level rises will be very strong in the not-too-distant future. Climate change is happening now, and sea level rises will threaten coastal cities. It will threaten New York City. It will threaten Miami. It will threaten the Gulf of Mexico cities such as New Orleans. And we will see massive sea level rises. As of right now, there is already flooding in Miami when there are no storms.
Wow.
And when they have high tide, they are having flooding in Miami. And what this massive amount of CO2 is doing,
and in New York as well, because I'm a witness to that from working on the boats. A Battery Park, when it's at high tide and in a good rainstorm, Battery Park will get flooded out, and Chelsea Piers gets flooded out as well too.
Exactly. The Earth's oceans have risen by approximately 8 inches over the last century. And also what will be happening is, and we are seeing the effects now, the Earth's atmosphere is now holding 10% more moisture than at the time that, more than it once did, 10% more moisture, which is causing heavier rainfalls. We are suffering heavy downpours, and we are suffering massive storms. As you know, Superstorm Sandy and Hurricane Maria, these are unprecedented hurricanes and storms that we are now facing in the modern world due to global warming.
That's true, man. Wait, but how about, can they make ice for these places to return to the way it was? Like a glacier melted, and like a glacier, like not a glacier, but let's say a mountain that had super amount of snow and ice and it melted. Can they return that ice by making ice for it?
As of right now, I'll look more into that, but as of right now, many scientists are causing the loss of glaciers irreversible. Irreversible. And we have passed another tipping point where the glacier on Greenland was regrowing ice in the winter, but it is not regrowing ice in the winter anymore. Now what it is just simply doing is pausing. And it is not regrowing ice, it is just pausing. So we are at a point where the glaciers are gradually receding, and we will constantly be losing glaciers as of right now, which will threaten fresh water sources for the human beings. And we are also in what is called the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene is the sixth mass extinction that is happening, and we are losing species at a very alarming rate. And also what is happening is we're having ocean acidification. It is called carbonic acidification. As I said, 90% of the energy is being absorbed into the oceans, and because we are releasing so much carbon into the atmosphere, that we are causing carbonic acidification, which is causing massive loss of fish species and the coral reefs. The coral reefs are dying.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Yes, the coral reefs are dying. They are, the Great Barrier Reef is about half dead now. And also what is happening in this country is we will see wetter and more serious storms in the east and unprecedented wildfires in the west because of drought conditions in the west. Will cause massive wildfires.
And that's been happening too in California. California, half the county is burnt down over there.
Yes, as you know, the massive, unprecedented wildfires have taken place in California. And so that is why it is called climate change, because even though the trend for the Earth is a warming trend, that we will have extremes in weather. We will have extreme wet conditions. We will have extreme dry conditions.
Right.
We will have sea level rise, and it is a very, very serious situation for life on this planet.
That's true. So a lot of people get it confused about climate change with weather. You know, people think it's the same thing. Is climate the same as the weather?
No. Well, the weather is what you're experiencing on one particular day. Climate is the trends in weather patterns. In other words, if you will have more trends of warmer days throughout a course of a period of time. It is the weather over time is what climate is.
Right.
And weather is what you're experiencing on one particular day in one particular region of the world. So the climate is long-term trend.
Right. So a desert should always be a desert. That's climate. And a rainforest should always be a rainforest type of climate.
Right. But what is happening is the climate is changing, and we are losing a lot of our agriculture. We will lose our ability to grow grain in the not-too-distant future because the West is experiencing serious droughts, and it will cause a it will cause us a very heavy hit on our agriculture, and there could very well be food shortages in the not too distant future, and it is a very serious situation for mankind.
No, absolutely. So if we and you know, the world is, I believe, is losing a lot of trees. You know,
Yeah,
getting
yes,
cut down in fires or what have you.
Deforestation.
Right. So do you think if they could repair the forest, would it help bring back the climate change?
Yes, that would help. That would help, but we need systemic changes. We also have to stop burning greenhouse gases. We have to stop burning fossil fuels. And also what is happening, which is another tipping point, is as CO2 is being poured into the atmosphere, a element known as permafrost is thawing. Right. Permafrost is frozen tundra, which is frozen vegetation, more or less. And it has been, in many cases, frozen for millions and millions of years.
Wow.
And with the thawing, because of the warming of the planet, with the thawing, the permafrost is thawing, releasing microbes that are now feeding on the newly thawing vegetation, which is releasing massive amounts of methane into the atmosphere. And the methane releases are tipping points that could cause major disaster with massive amounts of methane being released. Have you ever seen the old film clips on YouTube or anything of some kids fooling around on an ice lake, and they poke a hole in the ice lake, and then they light a lighter over the hole, and a big flame shoots out?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Well, they are doing that, and what they are doing is burning methane. Methane is being released in a lot of waterways as of right now too. Because of the
you know what? That happens in Hawaii too with the volcanoes, right?
Yeah.
Don't they release methane gases?
Yes, exactly. And what we are doing is we are releasing massive amounts of methane, and that can be a very dangerous catastrophe with the burning of CO2 and the loss of permafrost and the acidification of oceans and sea level rise and droughts and massive storms. These are all the things we are facing.
Wow, man. I mean, I know when climate change and global warming is real when I know everybody knows that picture of the I think it's a glacier or something like that in Alaska somewhere, that it's like a river looking glacier coming down a mountain. You know, it's a very famous picture, and and I remember as a kid it used to be fully loaded with ice, you know, and now it's totally basically melted away, and is down to rock now.
Yes, you can see it in front of your own eyes. You can see it in front of your own eyes.
I thought as a kid they say, oh, it's gonna melt over time. I thought it'll be over millions of years. You know what I mean? Or hundreds of years. I didn't think I would see that in my lifetime at all.
Yes. This is unprecedented what we are doing, what humankind is doing to the planet right now. Many of the other climate changes of the past, of millions of years ago, did take place over tens of thousands of years, and but we have speeded up at an unprecedented rate. And climate change is already here. We have warmed the Earth by 1 degree above pre-industrial levels now since 1880, and we have raised it by 1 degree. And the IPCC report, the International Panel on Climate Change, has reported that we will be facing massive wildfires and massive sea level rise and a severe threat to life on this planet unless we have to reduce emissions by 45% in 12 years below 2010 levels. That is how short a window we have before we will face irreversible tipping points in irreversible climate change.
Yeah, that's true, man. I really believe that type of stuff, man. And they really have to come to an agreement with the world and have more regulations on these things, and especially China and India, they gotta abide by those rules too, cause those are the like two main countries that really contribute to that stuff too.
Well, yes, actually, China is way ahead of the United States in producing renewables, but they have over 1 billion in population, so they do release a lot of greenhouse gases. This is going to get into the politics of it a little bit. I'll stay away from it a little bit. But what we have is a administration that is promoting fossil fuels and has pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. And it is a very bad administration for climate change policy. And it is going to cause serious problems. And what is also happening is one of the political parties, the Republican Party, is receiving money from the fossil fuel industry. And they are purposely being ignorant on the subject because they are getting massive amounts of money from petrodollar, from big oil to try to stall climate change policy.
Wow. Yeah, and you know what? To bring it back to baseball, right? The New York Yankees, they have hired a scientist for environmental studies at Yankee Stadium.
Yep, I heard about that.
To analyze the waste and water usage and stuff like that at the stadium. So the Yankees are contributing in helping to, create a better world and climate and stuff too. So, one step at a time.
Yes, that's very good of them that they did do that. And also, I do see recycling cans there, and they have also changed their lighting system to be more energy efficient. And they are doing what they can as a big business to try to be very green in their technologies.
Yeah, that's about time, man. And New York City also made a law where we can't use styrofoam anymore.
Right.
So the Chinese stores and styrofoam cups can't be sold anymore in New York City. I don't know if they still do, but I still get my Chinese food in the styrofoam thing though. So I guess it's still on. I don't know.
Right. What we have also is a big plastics pollution problem. There are billions of tons of plastics in the Earth's oceans, and there are some programs to try to clean up the Earth's oceans. But this current administration is terrible as far as the environment is concerned, and they are for big business, and they are a polluting administration. I won't go too much into politics, but it is very bad for climate change policy.
that goes all the way back to the Rockefellers, man, with the steel companies and all that stuff,
Exactly, and dumping waste into waterways and all of that as well.
Oh, yeah.
And also what is happening is 3/4 of the CO2 that is going into the atmosphere is produced by burning fossil fuels. And what we have to do is we have to have mitigation and adaptation as well. Climate change is here, and it will be happening. There is an inertia in the Earth's climate system. And the inertia means that the greenhouse gases that we burned in the 1950s, we are just feeling the effects of them now. So we have already baked into the system a large amount of warming. The IPCC wants to keep global temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius. But it is highly unlikely we will stick to that target.
So it took 50 years for us to feel the effects of what happened in 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So basically, if we start trying to fix it now, it's gonna take and it's gonna be, and we're slow at it. It's gonna be another maybe 75 years to fix this whole problem, right?
Yes, I hate to be a pessimist, but there are many climate change realists that are saying that we are past a point now where We still, I'm not saying give up. I think we have to change to renewable energies and do the best that we can. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a young congresswoman from New York, is promoting a Green New Deal. But many are feeling that climate change is here. It's happening now, and it will get worse in the future, and it will get much worse in the future. It is a very, very stark situation that human beings and life on Earth is going to be facing this coming future. And I hate to, terrorize people, but the future is going to look very rough. And what we still have to do is not give up and try to make massive moves towards renewable energies. But also, I know people will feel helpless, like they will say, what can I do? And no one single person can handle this. It has to be systemic. It has to be governmental and worldwide. We have to make the moves towards renewable energies. We have to move towards electric cars. We have to do this. It has to be systemic, and it has to be a worldwide effort. No one single person can do it alone.
That's true, man. No, they one big thing, they should start with electric cars.
Yes.
Because there's so many cars, and especially when it's, let's say, New York City with the traffic, every street has a car in it in traffic. Could you imagine that? And it happens on a good summer day. Imagine at 5 o'clock, every street in New York City is a traffic jam.
To give you an idea of how much energy is being released into the atmosphere because of all this CO2, to give you an idea, mankind is releasing the equivalent of 400,000 atomic bombs of energy into the atmosphere every day with the power that we're using.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I can't believe that. I know in New York City, when Bloomberg was mayor, he started leaning towards reusable energy, like you said, and trying to use the water to make electricity as well. And he put, I think, windmills inside the water in the East River. I don't know if that program has lasted or if it's still on or not, but at the time they were using water energy to create and heat homes. So
exactly.
It's happening. People are trying. It's just that we're not seeing it, and it's not enough.
We've got a administration that is rather horrible as far as I'm concerned, and they are actually fighting against. We need programs to put solar panels on businesses, and programs for poor people and the middle class to put solar panels on their houses. We need we need a World War II style effort, if not bigger, worldwide to fight this catastrophe, this crisis that humankind is facing.
Exactly, but you know what? We have the right frame of mind, but the electric companies won't let that happen because they're not gonna let you go solar, and they're gonna lose their money.
Exactly. This is where it all gets into the politics of it, and what we have to do is the electric companies have to move towards renewables, and we have to get off the fossil fuels, and this gets into a whole situation that I'll not go into right now about the politics of the situation. Right. But anyway, I think we've done about a half hour, haven't we?
Yeah, man. It's been a great radio show about climate change, man. People should have a good knowledge of what it is now. So, and it was very interesting talking about it as well.
Yes, thank you for giving me the platform, BS Bomber.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we will mainly do baseball and that kind of thing, but since you've given me this platform, and I sometimes feel despair and hopelessness as well, one of the things that I could do is at least discuss it, since you've given me a platform where I might be able to help to educate some people.
Yeah, man, it's why not, right? If we can teach somebody something and maybe somebody could learn and benefit from it, why not? I don't see the problem.
Exactly. Sounds good. So, okay, Hey, thank you, BX Bomber.
So yeah, I want everybody to subscribe. Please hit the like button if you can, and show support, and that let us know that you care. So always pick up a bat and hit that like button, and we'll see you on the next one. And this has been the First Inning Radio Show, along with Roger the Big Yankee fan, and I'm the BX Bomber, and we'll see you in the next one. So long.
Take care.